This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. First, the headlines. Fubara declares Ogun State government to demolish Benga Daniel's wife's complex. FCTA condemns alleged plans to investigate former FCT minister. Naiti accuses mining companies of owing federal government 1.06 billion naira. Morocco earthquake kills over 2,000 people. Super Eagles player eulogizes Wizkid as favorite musician. Rivers United defeats Heartland in friendly. joining us on the Global News tonight. Here is our bulletin in full. Chairman of Police Service Commission, Dr. Solomon Arase, has warned against the gruesome murder and beheading of a divisional police officer of Ahoda in Rivers State, SP Bako Angbashim. Arase described the killing as wicked, saying the murder of the gallant officer who fought till the end to save the Odumode community will not in any way extinguish the indomitable fighting spirit of the police against social disorders. A statement by Ikechukwu Ani, head press and public relations of the commission, said Arase promised that the commission will do everything within its constitutional powers to support and encourage police to ensure that the criminals are apprehended and brought to justice. Commiserated with the Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, the Commissioner of Police Rivers State Command, Polycarp Emeka Nwoyi, and the family of the slain officer on the unfortunate development. We'll take a short break and we'll be back to you on the Global News. Welcome back to the Global News now. Aggrieved Ishakiri indigents in Warri South local government area of Delta State have taken their ongoing protest to the Delta State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission over the Petroleum Industry Act implementation. This is coming after the Ologbo Shere of Warri Kingdom Chief Orisema Oyewoma petitioned the commission demanding for the Shakiri Nation monetary entitlement from the Sopadek and management from the tenure of the state ex-governor James Iberi till date. But the Sopadek office was forcefully locked when the protesters, comprising the Shakiri women and youth, carrying a mock casket, picketed the main entrance to express their grievances in a letter to the Sopadek, formally demanding for the Shakiri Nation's monetary entitlement from the commission since the past years to date. The letter of protest, written and signed by Oyewoma, who was represented by Chief Eugene Ikomi, and presented to the management of the Sopadek, demanding the release of all the monetary entitlement due to Shakiri ethnic nationality during the tenure of Chief James Iberi till date. Executive Director Welfare Chief Favor Izukoma, who acknowledged the receipt of the protest later on behalf of the management of the Sopadek, promised to deliver same at the appropriate quarters while commending the protesters for their peaceful conduct. Young Progressives Party has stopped its chairman in Imo State, Mr. Victor Diala, over alleged gross misconduct and abuse of office. The party's National Working Committee has mandated Kingsley Wahiri to take over and discharge the duties of the suspended chairman, pending the outcome of the party's special investigation. The party also reinstated its Osu Local Government Area Chairman, Chief Bernard Uzeto, and its National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Ebola Wale Martins, in Abuja, while stressing that The Osu local government area of Imo State is made up of autonomous communities, including Ihetinansa, Amaruru, Amazu, Amebu, Amanachi, Awo, Idemine, Asa, Ubirelem, Eziawa, Umuhu, Okabia, Osu, Ihituku, Oku, Ufuraku, Oku, Amarihe, and Oku, Etiti. He added that the National Working Committee applauded the judgment affirming the victory of Senator Ifeanyi Ubah and those of other party members at the Election Petitions Court, adding that the Young Progressive Party desired that members elected on its platform should also be delivered on all their electoral promises. Operatives of the Anambra State Police Command have freed some victims of kidnap after killing a suspected kidnapper. Spokesperson of the command, DSP Tochukwu Ikenga, who disclosed this, said the incident happened on Saturday night. He said the kidnapped victim, one Abuchi, from Orumba, South LGA of the state, was rescued with minor injuries, adding public-spirited citizens pointed the police in the direction the kidnappers went after seizing their victim, while the police trailed the kidnappers to an uncompleted building surrounded by bushes in Umota village, Obosi, where a gunfire exchange with the kidnappers ensued, and during the incident, one of the hoodlums was shot and arrested while others escaped with bullet wounds. He said guns recovered from the gang include one double-barrel pistol, 2 live and 1 expended cartridge, which the gang used for their oppression, while the arrested suspect gave his name as Wasu Ikenna from Obosi. The Commissioner of Police, Aderemi Adeoye, who commended the team for its gallantry, has directed that the suspect at large be declared wanted and hunted down. Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo has applauded President Bola Tinubu for giving the Southeast juicy portfolios despite recording low votes in the region during the last presidential election. Soludo showered the praise during the courtesy visit of the Minister of Works and Housing, David Umahi, to his office and reckoned that Tinubu, given the Ministry of Works to the Southeast, was huge, added that the totality of votes contributed from the Southeast, and looking at the Minister of Portfolios, the basis to begin to demand for juicy portfolios gave his people one of our finest and best, especially one of the few engineers who pioneered concrete pavements as current standard for road construction. The governor reminded the minister that all federal roads in Anambra State had failed and begged the attention of the federal government to award roads contracts in all nooks and crannies of the country. All Progressive Congress APC in Osun State has cautioned Governor Ademola Adeleke to disburse the 2 billion naira for federal government's fuel subsidy removal palliative for the vulnerable in the state. The Osun APC chairman Tajuddin Lawal, who disclosed this in a statement, said it was worrisome that Governor Adeleke is still confused on what to do with the money when other states had since completed the process of disbursement, adding that the delay in the disbursement of the 2 billion naira by Adeleke as when due is a sheer act of wickedness and confirmation of lack of empathy by the PDP administration for the needy in the state. Governor Adeleke and his co-travelers should tread with caution if the news going around in the state is true that the state government has fixed in the bank the 2 billion naira to take an undue advantage of the accrued interest. The Osun ABC chairman advised Adeleke to effect the disbursement of the fund to the needy without further delay, saying he doesn't need to wait for the people to die of hunger until something positive in that regard is done. He recalled that Governor Adeleke did not share the rice palliative until he was revered and pressured by the main opposition party in the state, and that the exercise was done in a shoddy manner targeted to benefit only the members of the People's Democratic Party in the state. But in a swift reaction, the Osun state government dismissed the APC allegations as mere rhetoric, adding that the state government has urged the people of the state to be wary of schemes by the opposition to pitch them against the Adeleke administration. The governor, in a statement signed by the Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolakbo Alimi, the state government said it was unfortunate that the APC is counting on sheer misinformation to warn won itself back into the hearts of the people, while assuring that the 2 billion naira is safe and will be applied in a transparent manner to beneficiaries. The state government stressed that it is resolved to transparently and judiciously administer any resource in its possession. Ogun State government has demolished a building owned by Mrs. Olufunke Daniel, wife of former Governor Benga Daniel. The 5-story building named the Datscom Plaza is situated at Falagbade Street, Ijebode, Ogun State, while the structure was approved by the state government in 2009 and is scheduled for commissioning by the end of September. It was gathered that the demolition began in the early hours of Sunday under the supervision of some government officials and security agents after the Ogun State government had given a demolition notice about 3 days ago. A statement by the contractor engineer Olusegun Lawal said that the government gave lack the reason the government gave was lack of enough parking space, inadequate muster point, and inadequate airspace as the reason for the demolition. While the building, worth 1 billion naira, has no single structural defect, and all relevant and necessary government approvals have been obtained, the former Governor Daniel, the current senator representing Ogun East, has visited the site for an on-the-spot assessment. While reacting to the incident, the chief press secretary to the governor, Dr. Biodun Lekan Adeniran, said the state government would soon issue a statement about the incident. Commissioner of Police in the Federal Government Capital Territory Command, Haruna Gariba, says an operative of the Department of State Services who was involved in a shooting incident that left several persons injured and hospitalized has been arrested and detained. Gariba, who disclosed this, said this DSS operative is still in their custody while investigation is still ongoing, adding that the victims of the market shooting are currently receiving treatment at some hospitals in Abuja. This is coming after a violent protest was subsequently quelled by the police following the shooting of a fashion designer by a DSS operative who also shot indiscriminately and also injured several others. Reacting to the development, the spokesman of the DSS, Peter Funanya, had in a statement said the secret police was investigating the matter. Office of the Minister of Federal Capital Territory has condemned online media reports that have surfaced claiming that the FCT Minister, Barrister Ezenwoye Sonwike, plans to invite the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to investigate the immediate past FCT Minister Malam Muhammad Musa Bello in relation to certain irregularities in the award of contracts and other such matters. It said categorically and unequivocally states that the reports are entirely baseless and without any merit whatsoever, while expressing concerns and frustrations regarding irregularities observed in the procurement and execution of certain projects, amongst other observations, which he very publicly expressed, adding that at no point did he contemplate to authorize any action by anyone within or outside the FCT administration to invite the EFCC or ICPC to investigate the former FCT minister in connection with these or any other. Niger State Governor Mohammed Umar Bago has urged critical stakeholders in the state to key into his ambitious agenda for a new Nigeria to ensure the desired growth and development. Bago stated this during the grand reception in honor of ministers from the State House of Assembly held at the Justice Idris Legbo Kutigi International Conference Center, Mina, adding that the call became necessary in order to foster unity and collaboration among all stakeholders and ensure they are on the same page in order to achieve steady progress and development. The governor also said the event had already been adopted as a policy to be observed every quarter to provide a platform where meaningful discussion on issues that affect the state and how best to tackle them, and equally directed the 25 local government areas of the state to replicate the same in their councils. Bago further charged the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris Malagi to use his good offices to fast-track the growth and development of the state and the country as a whole, and the governor urged the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, to ensure the state is considered for the pilot scheme of federal government agriculture initiative based on its size and natural resources waiting to be tapped. The minister in their separate goodwill messages commended the governor for his foresight and acknowledged that a new Nigeria is achievable. A boat accident has claimed the lives of 24 people and left others missing in Mokwa, local government area of Niger State. Eyewitness said the incident, which occurred on Sunday afternoon, has left the affected communities in mourning as the indigents are searching for the whereabouts of their loved ones, while the cause of the boat's mishap is still unknown, adding that the passengers were not wearing any life jackets when the accident occurred. Chairman of the Mokwa local government area, Jibrim Muragi, who confirmed the boat's mishap, said the divers were making efforts to rescue more victims or recover more bodies, while Muragi confirmed that 21 dead bodies were recovered and 3 community members of Bajibo, Ekwa, and Yankiade were affected. Meanwhile, the state governor, Mohamed Bago, has expressed shock at the loss of lives through a boat accident that claimed the scores of lives in Niger State. He called for the use of life jackets for anybody boarding a boat in his state and condemned overcrowding in a boat. A statement by his chief press secretary, Bolagi Ibrahim, the governor described the accident as both terrible and undesirable, while commiserating with the families of the victims, and has directed the Niger State Emergency Management Agency to do the needful to ameliorate the sufferings of the people. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani has expressed concern over the ethnic and religious divisions in the state, while lamenting that all government actions or inactions were viewed from the lenses of religion and ethnicity. Speaking at a one-day reflection meeting on Kaduna's direction and peace building organized by Kaduna Peace Commission in collaboration with the United Nations Development Program, the governor said the state has had its fair share of ethnic and religious conflicts, saying that the intensity has drastically reduced, while expressing fears of escalation due to unnecessary rivalry.
And we promise to make sure that we protect the lives and properties of our people. So we're investing a lot in the area of security also. And that is what I can tell you. When we came into this government, I was the first governor in Nigeria to approach the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, as well as the Chief of Defense Staff. Happily for us in Kaduna, the Chief of Defense Staff is from Kaduna State. And he is willing and ready to help us. He's from Zangokat. And he's someone who knows the situation very well. And I can tell you, General Christopher is doing everything to support us in Kaduna. And that is the reason why in the next few days, we're going to honor him in Kaduna. It's a great achievement for us to have a Chief of Defense Staff from Kaduna State, who is willing and ready to help us to at least address the problem of insecurity in our own state. Again, the Chief of Army Staff is also someone who has lived many years here in Kaduna as the commander, as the garrison commander of
must help identify the threats to peace. Similarly, the active collaboration between the Commission and security agencies, particularly the Nigerian Police, the Department of State Security Services, the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, the Kaduna State Vigilance Service, have resulted in more effective prevention of several violent conflicts in the state. Happily today, many of the conflict-prone areas are no longer witnessing violence, even as efforts are ongoing to build social harmony that will ensure enduring peace and stability in all parts of the state. The metropolitan cities of Kaduna, Zaria, and Kafanchan are now peaceful and vibrant, as we are optimistic that full and total reintegration across the ethnic and religious divides will soon be the hallmark
Other speakers at the Peace Summit, including former Emir of Kano Sanusi Lamido and Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, opined that dialogue and negotiations can lead to lasting peace and peaceful coexistence.
That an effort such as this, which appears to be very commendable, to be laudable, and to be a very remarkable one, will only amount to an effort in futility, in where it is not spearheaded and carried out by sincerity of purpose. And as we do so, we need to be guided by just two things, which in Sanskrit is described as satyagraha, which is truth and fairness. So long as there is no truth and fairness in our pursuit for peaceful coexistence, we will only end up
the importance of the peace, because I can say last few years Kaduna State has been relatively peaceful, except of course the Melaxas, taken over a significant part of, the north, that is this issue of banditry and other related crimes. But peaceful coexistence in the state, I think, from the last was a good mutual understanding between Muslims and Christians, and also between ethnic groups. So the
Task Force Northwest Operation Hadarin Daji, under the command of the General Officer commanding 8th Division Nigerian Army, have freed over 18 kidnapped victims in Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, and Sokoto State. A statement by Captain Yahaya Ibrahim, Force Information Officer, Operation Hadarin Daji, said the success was achieved when the troops were deployed at the forward operating base in Anka, local government area of Zamfara State, and rescued 5 kidnapped victims after a gun duel with armed bandits along Anka Bagega Road. He said the victims were abducted by armed bandits who blocked Anka Bagega Road and abducted several kidnapped persons in a center. In a canter truck while conveying goods to Bagega markets in Anka LGA, adding that the troops in Zamfara rescued 2 kidnapped victims from their farmlands. In another development, the troops acting on distress calls from locals on armed bandit activities in Danfanmi village in Kaura mobilized to the villages, which led to the rescue of 3 victims. And on 8 September 2023, troops of FOB Bagega in Zamfara State, while on a fighting patrol, intercepted and rescued 6 kidnapped victims who escaped from their captives in Gando Forest. The statement also said preliminary investigation revealed that the victims were kidnapped from Mahuta community in Kebbi State and had spent 10 weeks in captivity, adding that troops deployed at Safi, LGA of Zamfara, rescued 2 females who were kidnapped in the late hours when bandits invaded their community. The Commander Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Hadarin Daji, Major General Godwin Mukuta, commended the troops for their vigor, resilience, and prompt response to distress calls, which led to the rescue of the victims. Taraba State Police Command has confirmed the killing of a female and the abduction of no fewer than 2 persons in the Jalingo metropolis by a known gunman. The incident occurred in the Mile 6 area in the early hours of Sunday. Confirming the report, the spokesperson of the command, Abdullahi Usman, said it has been confirmed that there was a kidnap in the house of one Balanko Alex in Mile 6 area of Jalingo today, adding that the unknown gunman gained access to the house through the fence and killed the owner of the house and his wife before disappearing with 2 persons. He also said the command had put in place mechanisms to fast-track the arrest of the kidnappers while urging persons with useful information to reach out to the command. All Progressives Congress APC in Benue State said it is dissatisfied with the recent majority judgment of National and State House of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal upholding the petition of Senator Gabriel Suswan as the winner of the February 25th Benue North East senatorial election. This is coming after Gabriel Sus, one of the People's Democratic Party, who was defeated by Emmanuel Udende of the APC, had approached the election tribunal to upturn the election in his favor due to irregularities in the February 25th Northeast senatorial election. But in a split decision, chairman of the panel, Justice Orizik Ikoha, and member 2 entered judgment in favor of the defeated candidate of the PDP in the February 25th senatorial election, Gabriel Suswan. A statement signed by the Benue State Publicity Secretary of the APC, Dan Ihomu, in Makati said, while they are satisfied with the tribunal's judgment, one of the 3 members of the National and State House of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal, Justice UZ Mohammed, for dismissing Senator Suswan's petition against Emmanuel Udende and awarding the cost of 100,000 against Suswan. Ihoma added that the Senator Udende's mandate remains unshaken and is on solid grounds. Meanwhile, the Benue State PDP had commended the tribunal for delivering substantial justice in the petition based on the facts and evidence rendered before it in line with extant electoral laws, guidelines and regulations, thereby boosting public confidence in the judiciary. The party also said it is confident that the former Benue State governor would deploy his wealth of experience and proven pedigree in the Ninth Senate to get back seamlessly into the business of lawmaking in the 10th Senate for the good of his constituents, the party, and Nigeria at large. Nigerian Army says a strict observance of humanitarian and human rights laws will enhance the performance of troops in internal security and peace support operations. The Chief of Civil Military Affairs, Major General Nosa Kare Ubo, said this at a lecture and sensitization workshop on human rights organized for troops of 1 Division Nigerian Army in Kaduna State. Ubo was represented by Brigadier General Bola Keji, Director Psychological Warfare, Army Headquarters, Department of Civil Military Affairs, said the Nigerian Army has a sacred obligation to ensure that its personnel perform their duties within the limits prescribed by law, including International Charter on Human Rights.
Additionally, the Nigerian Army is currently conducting internal security operations across the country with other security agencies. Therefore, a high level of discipline and professionalism is required from each soldier at all levels in order to ensure a successful operation. This is also in line with the Chief of Army Staff Command philosophy, which I quote, to transform the Nigerian Army into a well-trained, equipped, and highly motivated force towards achieving our constitutional responsibilities within a joint environment. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948 and complemented by the Regional African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which are international human rights law, instruments and contain certain fundamental rights, are inalienable. Nigeria is a signatory to some important international and regional treaties and declarations. In Nigeria, the provision of these international human rights laws instruments have been adopted in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Some of these rights include right to life, right to dignity of human persons, right to personal liberty, right to fair hearing, right to private family life, right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion, and right to freedom of expression and press, to mention but a few. There is no doubt that this strict observance of these humanitarian and human rights laws will enhance the performance of troops either in internal security operation or peace support operations.
Additionally, the General Officer commanding 1 Division, Major General Valentine Okoro, said the division had placed high premium on training to keep the personnel abreast of international best practices in the discharge of their duties. The GOC, represented by the division's Chief of Staff, Brigadier General Moses Gara, said knowledge of humanitarian and human rights laws was important in guiding any operation conducted by troops.
Headquarters 1 Div has continued to place high premium on training of its personnel to ensure troops are kept abreast and informed to discharge their duties in line with international best practices. This sensitization workshop is in line with the trend of events and the Chief of Army Staff command philosophy of having to transform the Nigerian Army into a well-trained, equipped, and highly motivated force towards achieving our constitutional responsibilities within a joint environment. This session is unique considering the significance of the topic selected in collaboration with, I'll leave that out, the knowledge of humanitarian law and the constitutional responsibilities of the Nigerian Army soldier in military security operations is of great importance to achieving the mandate bestowed on one division Nigerian Army. That is why we have participants drawn from various units and formations, not just under command, but from sister military establishments also. It is believed that the most effective way to keep troops informed and updated is by engaging them in a forum like this.
Department of State Security Service says it has arrested the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Aisha Ahmad, over an alleged fraudulent acquisition of shares in Polaris Bank and Titan Bank. Union Bank DSS spokesman Peter Funaya said he could not confirm or deny that Ahmad is in their custody or has been invited for questioning. Meanwhile, according to reports making the rounds, Aisha is also being interrogated on how $300 million was raised by Titan Bank to complete the acquisition of Union Bank in 2022. Speaking on the development, Funaya stated that in the course of any investigation, people can be invited for a questioning, and those invitations are carried out within the ambit of the law. This is coming 2 months after the Secret Service arrested Ahmad's former boss and the CBN while Godwin Emefiele has been in their custody since then. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, says about 400,000 health workers in Nigeria are insufficient to cater to the healthcare needs of Nigerians. Pate, who disclosed this in Abuja after his 3-day briefing session with departments and agencies under the ministry, said the 400,000 workforce comprises community health workers, nurses, midwives, pharmacists, physicians, lab scientists, technicians, and auxiliaries working in the Nigerian healthcare system. He said there was need to produce excess health workers because globally there is a shortage of health manpower. At least 18 million people, while in developed countries where they are aging, they are retiring, so there's need for people to provide these services. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has criticized the 36 governors in the country, demanding that they disclose details on the spending of the 2 billion naira palliative recently disbursed to each state by the federal government, including the names of beneficiaries and details of the reliefs so far provided with the money. This is coming after the federal government recently disbursed 2 billion naira out of the 5 billion palliative package for each state of the federation and the federal capital territory to address the impacts of the removal of fuel subsidy. In the open letter dated September 9, 2023 and signed by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization said it is in the public's interest to publish the details on the spending of the 2 billion naira palliative and any subsequent disbursement of funds to the government. SERAP said Nigerians have the right to know how their states are spending the fuel subsidy relief funds. It is part of their legally enforceable human rights, adding that transparency and accountability in the spending of the 2 billion naira and any subsequent disbursement to your state would help to reduce the risk of corruption, mismanagement, diversion, or opportunism. It is also demanding the oversight afforded by public access to the details of the spending of the 2 billion naira palliative, and any subsequent disbursement would serve as an important check on the activities of your state and help to prevent abuses of the public trust, adding that the constitutional principle of democracy also provides a foundation for Nigerians a right to know details on the spending of the 2 billion fuel subsidy palliatives. Citizens' right to know promotes openness, transparency, and accountability that is in turn crucial for the country's democratic order. SARAP have also invited the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to jointly track and monitor the spending of the 2 billion naira fuel subsidy policies and any subsequent disbursements of public funds to the states. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back to you after this break. Welcome back to the Global News on the Atlantic Television Network. Here is the rest of our stories. Former Head of State General Abdulsalami Abubakar has congratulated the administration of President Bola Tinubu for clocking 100 days in office with a charge on Nigerians to join hands with the government to overcome the challenges of fuel subsidy and insecurity inherited from former President Muhammadu Buhari. The elder statesman, who said Nigerians as a people want changes to happen quickly, also congratulated the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, on his appointment, describing the information portfolio as a very tough job. A statement by the Deputy Director of Press and Public Relations to the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Suleiman Haruna, said Abdulsalami stated these during a grand reception organized by the Niger State government to honor political gladiators from the state, including the minister. All the events, the minister assured Nigerians that the current administration would continue to develop policies that promote national values and orientation among the citizens. Social rights activist Aisha Yasufu has explained Here is the business news for tonight. Oil marketers have postponed their plans to import premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, while awaiting the commencement of local production of refined petroleum products by Nigeria's refineries from December this year. Operators in the downstream oil sector said the importation of PMS was no longer a viable business, considering the difficulty in accessing the United States dollar required for import. National President, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Chinedu Okonkwo, the government had promised to get the refineries up and running by December. It was best to hold on and source refined petroleum products from the facilities locally, adding that by December there won't be need for importation, which means the refineries will be up and running. Nigeria Extractive Industries, a transparency initiative, says about 238 companies owe the federal government nearly 1.06 billion naira as annual service fees. This was disclosed in the NAITI industry report for the solid minerals industry for 2021, which was recently launched. According to the report, the amount owed increased from 54.28 million in 2020, including a total of 1,214 companies operating in the sector. 914 paid royalties. Also, out of the 914 that made royalty payments, 121 companies met this set materiality threshold and were responsible for 92% of the total royalty payment, while the total received by federal, states, and local government agencies was 193.59 billion in 2021. Also, a total of 2,045 licenses were issued during the year under review, and the total mineral production was 76,277,187 tons. It was also noted that minerals with the largest production volume in the year under review are granite, limestone, laterite, clay, and sand. While speaking at the unveiling of the report in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of NATI, Dr. Wonaya Orji, stated that 2021 figures showed an increase of 60.32 billion naira, or 51.89% when compared to the 2020 revenue flows of 116.82 billion, adding that the 2021 figure was still abysmal considering the potential of the sector to the Nigerian economy. Speaking at the unveiling, also the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, represented by the Chairman House Committee on Urban Development, Awaji Inombek Abiante, described the report as being key to sanitizing the extractive sector in order to boost job creation and revenue generation. The government says its target is not just to eradicate poverty, but also to prevent Nigerians from sliding into poverty. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edum, disclosed this in Maiduguri, Borno State during a two-day working visit to the state. A statement issued in Abuja by her special advisor on media and publicity, Rashid Zubair, said the minister, who was received by the Borno State Governor, Professor Babagana Zulum, said the President Bola Tinubu had vowed to minimize the humanitarian crisis and eliminate poverty in Nigeria, as this was in fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2, adding that it is important that the humanitarian ministry renews its partnership with the state and leverage on the state successes and experience to find better ways of doing things. She informed the governor that the federal government was committed to returning Nigerian refugees and migrants to their various homes by 2024, adding that structures must be put in place to repatriate and reintegrate the internally displaced persons into their various communities, stressing that the National Social Register would be cleaned up and expanded to accommodate more people in order to meet set targets. The humanitarian minister also said the ministry shall establish humanitarian hubs in all local government areas as a deliberate policy of targeting the grassroots, as well as the rural poor that are more in large numbers and in communities and villages, adding that the ministry shall deliberately create job opportunities for youth on a short and long-term basis, giving microcredits of vocational training, among others. Still watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network carries the international stories. Death toll from a powerful earthquake in Morocco has soared up to more than 2,000, with a similar number of injured. The Interior Ministry says more than 1,400 have serious injuries, and the heaviest casualties are in provinces just south of Marrakesh. King Mohammed VI declared 3 days of national mourning and ordered shelter, food, and other help for survivors. Many people are spending a second night out in the open, while the magnitude 6.8 quake in Marrakesh and many towns and in remote mountain areas, entire villages are reported to have been flattened. The epicenter was on the high Atlas Mountain, 71 kilometers, 44 miles southwest of Marrakesh, a city with World Heritage statues, which is popular with tourists. But the tremors also felt But the tremors were also felt in the capital Rabat, some 350 kilometers away, as well as Casablanca, Agadir, and Essaouira. The Interior Ministry says Al-Haouz province has the highest death toll, followed by Taroudant province. There are far fewer deaths in Marrakesh through the UNESCO protected old city. Though the United Protected Old City has suffered considerable damage, and it is believed that many simple mud, brick, stone, and timber homes in mountain villages will have collapsed, but the scale of devastation in remote areas will take some time to assess. Cristiano Ronaldo's Pestana CR7 in Marrakesh, Morocco, has become a refuge site for victims of the earthquake. This is coming after the 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck the mountainous High Atlas region of the North African nation, leaving at least over 2,000 people dead as at press time. Amidst the tragedy, a number of Marrakesh-based organizations and businesses have all offered assistance to those affected by the quake. One of them is a hotel owned by Portugal star Cristiano Ronaldo, while the luxury hotel is providing shelter to those who have lost their homes. Spain says it has sent a plane with 56 rescuers and 4 search dogs to quake-hit Morocco after it received a formal request for help from Rabat. The Defense Ministry said in a post on X that a 400 military plane took off from a base in the northeastern city of Zaragoza, with the team bound for Marrakesh to help the search and rescue of survivors of the devastating earthquake suffered in our neighboring country, he said. He maintained that the rescuers belong to Spain's military emergencies unit, a body of the armed forces that was created to intervene quickly in emergency situations such as forest fires, floods, and earthquakes. A UME unit was sent to Turkey in February following a devastating earthquake and helped rescue 6 people, including a mother and 2 children. And it is the strongest ever quake to hit Morocco, has killed at least 2,012 people and injured over 2,000. Early on Sunday, Spain's Foreign Minister José Manuel Alvarez said Madrid would send aid to Morocco after receiving a formal request. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has applauded a joint declaration by G20 leaders in Delhi that avoid condemning Moscow for its war against Ukraine. Mr. Lavrov said Russia had not expected consensus and agreement on the wording was a step in the right direction. The closing G20 statement denounced using force for territorial gain, but made no mention of Russian aggression, prompting criticism from Ukraine. The 2-day summit also inducted a new permanent member, the African Union, while the 55-member bloc joins at the invitation of host India, one of whose key objectives while president has been to make the G20 more inclusive with greater participation of the so-called Global South countries. The world's biggest economies reached other key deals in Delhi, including one on climate and biofuels. Although there was criticism of the summit's failure to commit to phasing out of fossil fuels for the 2nd year in a row, there was no official G20 family photo. No reason was given, but reports say many leaders refused to be photographed, pointing to Russia's presence at the summit. Very few had expected a joint declaration at this year's G20 not lists on the first day of the summit, and the group is deeply divided over last year's invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Neither Russia's Vladimir Putin nor China's Xi Jinping turned up in Delhi, sending lower-level delegations. Instead, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced consensus had been reached on how to face the Ukraine section of the statement, which saw last year's direct criticism of Russia watered down. Top-ranking U.S. military officer says less than 30 days left of fighting before the weather hinders its counter-offensive. General Mark Milley said the colder conditions could make it much harder for Ukraine to maneuver and admitted that the offensive had gone more slowly than expected, while there is still heavy fighting going on and Ukrainians are still plugging away with steady progress. General Miley said it was too early to say whether the counteroffensive had failed, but said Ukraine was progressing at a very steady pace through the Russian front lines, adding that there's still a reasonable amount of time, probably about 30 to 45 days worth of fighting with a so the Ukrainians aren't done. Kiev's counteroffensive, which was launched in the summer and aims to liberate Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine, but Ukrainian generals claim they have reached Russia's formidable first line of defenses in the south. He added that Ukraine was making progress in its battle to regain its territory, having recovered 50% of the ground Russia seized, while Ukraine's progress was also down to the international community applying economic pressure and diplomatic pressure, and Russia is suffering because of that. And here is entertainment news for tonight. Here is AC Milan and Super Eagles forward Samuel Chukwueze has eulogized Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Ayodeji Balogun, also known as Wizkid, as his favorite musician. He said Anthony Joshua is his favorite boxer and Super Eagles teammate Victor Osimhen his favorite footballer. 23-year-old also disclosed that Chinedu Ikedieze and Osaiheme Aki and Popo are his favorite movie stars. Chukwueze added that the Akwa Ibom state capital Uyo is his favorite city. The former Villarreal Gwenga is currently with the Super Eagles in Uyo ahead of Nigeria's last AFCON qualifier match against Sao Tome and Principe later today. Rivers United has shown a dramatic comeback to overcome a determined Heartlander side in a competitive warm-up game. The encounter played at the Adokie Amiasimaka Stadium, Port Harcourt, ended 2-1 in favor of the Pride of Rivers. Alex Oyewa's second half header and Yao Bernard's last-minute strike was enough to cancel out Heartland's early strike in the first half. And Rivers United dominated the game in the first half, but went behind before the break. Stanley Eguma's side turned the game around immediately after the start of the second half to earn a deserved victory over the visitors, while the former NPFL champions will now concentrate on their CAF Confederation Cup second round clash against Etoile, Filant of Burkina Faso. Gombe United played out a 1-1 draw against Katsina United in a pre-season competition in Kaduna State. Mohamed Baba Ganaru's side took the lead through Samson Ola before Katsina United restored parity, and Gombe United was the better side in the game. The game was Baba Ganaru's first since his appointment as the head coach of Gombe United. The experienced tactician took charge of the Savannah Scorpions a few weeks ago, while his side will battle Sporting Lagos in the Nigeria Professional Football League opener on a yet-to-be-announced date. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, here is another look at the major stories. Ogun State's Governor demolished Benga Daniel's wife's complex. FCTA condemns alleged plans to investigate former FCT minister. Naiti accuses mining companies of owing federal government 1.06 billion naira. Morocco earthquake kills over 2,000 people. Super Eagles player eulogizes Wizkid as favorite musician. Rivers United defeats Heartland in friendly. I'm Vivian Douglas. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platform. On X, we're Atlantic TV Net. On Facebook and YouTube, we're Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Atlantic TV Network 1. Remember that peace and unity remains the pathway to progress. Good night.